just like you always wanted to be. Hitting the dance floors all around the world where people can see you dancing. You are still on top, still a thrill. Don't stop, you've got moves to kill. Just like you always wanted to be. Hitting the dance floors all around the world where people can see you dancing. You are still just like you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Anime Watch Club. My name is Peter, and on today's episode, we will be talking about the first part of the Monogatari series, and that is Bakemonogatari. Joining me today is our co-host. First up, we got Haz. Haz, how you doing today?
I'm depressed.
Haz is depressed, but looking great. And as well as our co-host, we have Tyler. Tyler, how's it going?
What's up, guys?
And joining us as always with a nice green wig, we have Kat. Kat, how's it going?
My mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yeah.
Kat's doing great, it sounds like. And our moderators. First, we have Miles. Miles, how's it going?
It's going well, and I'm just here to say that if I was an apparition, I'd be a chupacabra.
And our other moderator, who also has the worst webcam of all time, we have Pat. Pat,
There we
how's it
go.
going?
I saw it glitch right before Miles started talking, so I was like, I knew I needed to fix it. But Kat, you hit those notes exquisitely, so I am doing a lot better than I was while I was watching this show.
Yeah, Kat,
Surprisingly.
thank you for that motivation. So on today's episode, we will be discussing and reviewing Bakemonogatari, and I will hand it off to our moderators, Miles and Pat.
Miles, take this one away. I can't.
Sure, I'll take this one. So, I guess as is tradition at this point, let's go around the horn, talk about our initial impressions, what we thought before going into it, and what we thought maybe in the first couple episodes and stuff like that. Let's get the negativity out of the way early, and we'll start with my dear co-host. What did you think?
Oh my god. Okay, so going into this show, I've watched a lot of shows since I started watching anime, and this is one of those ones that's always been recommended. For one, because it's got so many iterations of it. It's like the Fate series almost, where it's got so many iterations that it's like you expect, or you expect it to be really, really good. And maybe that's what happened to me. Maybe I got my expectations a little bit too high. And especially as someone too, though, who likes character-based shows. I like shows that have characters interacting and playing off each other and everything along those lines. Like I know we'll bring up this example later, but I loved Bunny Girl Senpai, so I really don't understand why my first impression of this show, the first time I tried to watch it like a year and a half ago, I watched the first episode and then I fell asleep in the middle of the second one. And then when I started watching it again, the same exact thing happened. I fell asleep in the middle of the second show or episode. So I really don't know why I was struggled so much with this show. I didn't even finish it. I got so close, but I did not finish it in time, unfortunately. But yeah, so I guess just my first impression is it was not good, and maybe that was because I expected something to like blow me away, but I don't know. Again, it was not all bad though. I definitely think it's something that I can see why it had such an impact on the community, and I can also understand why all the waifus that have spawned from this show too. Like I can totally understand why people are so obsessed with all of the girls and all the characters and all the spirits or whatever you want to say. I think that I can see why this show has spawned so much popularity, but there's a lot of flaws with it, in my opinion, that don't normally get addressed.
So now that we have that garbage out of the way, let's go to a cultured member of our little round table, Kat. Give me your impressions.
Okay, so for me, I had before I actually watched this with you guys, I'd watched the whole series with another group. And to be honest, when I first started watching it, when I first was getting was getting ready to psych myself up to watch it, I was like, do I really want to watch the first part of this series? Because, like, in my opinion, when I was getting myself psyched up to watch it, this was not my favorite part of my favorite part of the series. In fact, it was my least favorite part of the series by far. Like, it's still good, but like, if I'm gonna watch the series again, I don't want to start there because that just makes the rest of the series kind of drag on for me. Um, and the main thing is like, I just I just started watching it, and I tried my best to kind of stay interested, kind of look for little Easter eggs here and there, just to kind of keep me interested. And eventually, I was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna make bread. So it was literally just me making bread while this was on and wasting internet. So like I mean, I've still got like good points to talk about, but it's nowhere near as like if this was my first time watching it, I probably have much better things to say than I do today. So
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting thing. I certainly plan on watching more of the series, so I wonder how that'll shape my opinion on the first little bit here. Hastic, take it away.
So on my notes here, which I watched this like 3 days after, so it's all coming back to me. But I knew it was a harem show, and like a romance, so I was kind of going into it expecting copious amounts of Bunny Girl Senpai vibes. And I feel like I've watched this in the past because there are certain scenes in this show that like I vividly remember seeing. I just don't remember the context to them. And we'll talk about that later. If I wasn't in the watch club, most likely I would have dropped this show after episode 1 because episode 1, it's a what the fuck, right? But there's two kinds of what the fucks. There's the good one that's like a good example is like Doro Hedoro, right? Like I was interested in Doro Hedoro. I don't know what's going on, but I want to know. But this one, it kind of felt like, well, I don't know what's going on, and it's not. There's like zero chance of it making sense. They're just moving on like I do. But I think when that first episode kind of set the tone because by the end of it, I understood the first part of the episode. And I feel like that was a theme that I have with the rest of the show. And it just gave me a lot of Makaku City Actors, Madoka Magica, and ID Invaded vibes. Like if I were to name 3 shows. So, yeah.
ID
Awesome,
Invaded,
Vince.
that's a poll.
Tyler, what do you got?
When this show got nominated, I didn't really want to watch it whatsoever. So I started watching it the night after we recorded, like 2 weeks ago, the Princess Principal podcast. And I think I watched the first episode that night, and then I decided to watch like the next 8 in a row. Like I couldn't stop watching. I still don't really know what I like, but it was super interesting. All the dialogue in it, I don't really watch subbed shows, so this was like kind of shocking to me, but I really liked it. It seems to be making me like more subbed anime, which is cool. And both of the girls that were introduced at the beginning were awesome. So, I mean, I definitely wanted to keep watching. It seemed like a mystery. I also never watched a harem before, so that was kind of weird.
This is not a good summary of what the harem
Yeah,
genre
this is weird because
I know it is
it's not really classified
is-
as a harem, but it
Okay.
definitely is.
Because
has
to me,
harem
like
vibes.
This is
looking
on
at
the
the word
good
of
side of
harem.
harem.
It just seems like he meets a girl and she instantly wants in his pants.
Yeah.
Well, we can discuss that because I think it mostly does a good job of not following that. But
Yeah.
that'll be for later. Pete, what do you got?
I guess this is my second time watching Bakemonogatari. As a whole of the show, the Monogatari series is very like highly rated. I think like Oi Monogatari is like over a 9 on Mal, which is insane. Yeah, it's like Oi Monogatari season 2 is like a 9.01 or something, or something like really close to a 9. So
Yes,
Pretty high
8.94.
too.
yeah,
It's
so
an 8.94. This one's an 8.28, I believe, is what. Yeah, 8.36 is this one. But
so yeah, this
Owari
one's
Monogatari
pretty
is-
highly rated. Anything above an 8 on Mal is pretty
It's
good.
impressive.
So
Especially for such a weird genre or type of show, imagine
Yeah.
it's a good.
Yeah. So second time running through, kind of like what Kat said, I was looking for some like Easter eggs. I watched it back in like 2017, so that was still when I was still pretty new to anime. So I found a lot of things that I maybe didn't like back then that I loved now that I think we'll talk about later. But for the most part, I don't really have a lot of negative things to say about Bakemonogatari.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
And so,
I feel the same way.
I guess for me, I had watched the first two episodes of the show before. I have a pretty good friend who loves this show and the series. And when I first tried watching it, it was really cumbersome. Like there was a lot there. There's a lot of dialogue. The show is basically just dialogue and Japanese wordplay, and there's a lot of things to sort of dissect. And so I gave up because I found it to be sort of exhausting to watch. However, what I saw from it, I was expecting a show that was very well constructed, but also kind of weird. And I feel like it very much delivered on that. And I feel like watching it in a setting like this where I'm taking notes and I'm sort of watching it to view it critically,
Oh,
was much more conducive for me as opposed to just watching it. Like I feel like it's something you need to examine.
oh no.
Yes, I agree.
I 100% agree with that as well. That it was cumbersome to watch for one. It did take a lot out of me. Again, like the first time I watched it, I paused every time to read. Of course, I freeze when I'm talking, but
You
that's
and Kat have both froze.
oh, good. Yeah, well,
It's okay.
but yeah, oh yeah, of course it's fine. But either way, the first time I tried to watch it, it was just I was pausing every 2 seconds trying to read all the subtitles, and then someone told me, or not subtitles, but the text, and then someone told me, oh, you don't need to do that. So the second time I watched it, I did none of that. I refused to pause it. I tried to read it. I read what I could whenever I could, but I never paused it, and I think that helped me with my experience a little bit.
What did you not like then? Like specifically, like just the whole type of shit, or like what were you looking for?
I don't know. So I was expecting something similar to Bunny Girl Senpai that was a little bit more. I don't know. Like the settings threw me off. I know like the whole point is that it's very dialogue focused of a show, which again is usually something I like, but it wasn't interesting dialogue to me. There were times where it was very interesting, and I was enjoying the back and forth. Like whenever Senja Gahara was on the screen, I mean, we can talk about like waifus later, but whenever she was on the screen, whenever she was talking, I was totally into it. I loved it. I loved it when she and
Araragi.
Araragi
You
yeah,
flipped it.
we're talking. I know Mayoi, whatever her name is the one who does that. But either way, I enjoyed whenever those two were talking, whenever the two leads were talking to each other. But the other girls, and not even the other girls, just any other time that there was like dialogue, I was not interested. I didn't find the beginning very logical either. I don't know. To me, when maybe I just missed something, but Senja Gahara says that Aragi like saved me. He I'm in debt to you, and I'm like, you're not in debt to him. You're in debt to the Meme Oshino guy. Like that's the way I
You watched
interpreted
the
it.
last 3 episodes, it would maybe change your
Yeah.
There we
about
go. I
that,
guess
because
that's what.
I mean, obviously you don't really like the show, so you don't care, but he kind of disappears, and like you kind of see that it was possibly Araragi that was doing it.
She even goes into it, I believe, in the second or third episode.
Episode for
because
sure.
She says that, like, because of her condition, like she is aggressive towards people, right?
Right,
Like,
and scares them away, right?
and so he was the only person who, I guess, tried to help her regardless of her initial threats. So like he saved her not by being the person who did the surgery. That was actually herself, and that's like a big theme of what happened to her. But by being someone who was willing to work with her in order for her to get better.
Right, I
Because
get
what's
that.
it called? Oshino always says, "I can't save anyone. You have to save
You have to save
yourself."
yourself,
And by
yeah.
the end, Araragi says the same thing. Like, I didn't save her. Like, she has to save herself, and the same thing for him.
Yeah, well, that's where I don't know. I feel like the show is repetitive at times
It
as
was
well.
very repetitive. I agree with that.
Which
Like once
which
you kind of saw the first arc, it kind of did the same thing.
Really?
Maybe
'Cause, like, okay, well, let's
3 or
talk about the different arcs then. Let's go into that. I don't remember what question that was, but it's comparing and contrasting the arcs.
the second one. We kind of skipped over the dialogue and stuff, but we
We
talked
could go
about
back
it.
to it. I think that's a good lead-in because like the end of the arcs generally have to do with the wordplay and stuff. So like to me, you know, I don't really think the arcs were super repetitive. I think at like maybe like at first blow they are, but so like the second arc, the snail one to me, it was about Araragi like working
he
on
was the one.
himself. He wasn't fixing a girl or anything. It was about him figuring out why he was seeing this apparition and stuff. Like he doesn't do anything for the spirit. For Hachikuji, is that her name?
Yeah,
Yep.
Kuji.
Um, you know, other than spend some time with her, but like her job is to divert him because he doesn't have a direction in his life, and he has to like make a decision about where to go in order to go forward. I feel like that one was about him finding direction, which is sort of nice because I feel like you generally in these types of shows don't see the male protagonists have much development and deal with their own issues and stuff. It's usually very female
I kind of
character
feel
driven.
I guess I should say it differently. What I said. It seems like the beginning of the arcs are differently, but they get to the same end point. Like there'll be different types of dialogue. Like the first one was kind of a love story, and I know there's some weird shit going on between him and Hachikuji too. But in my opinion, I looked at it more like she's my little sister. Like when he was grabbing her and stuff, I wasn't for that, but when she would call him a different name and he would like scold her and then she says, "Oh, I flubbed it." Like I absolutely love that. I could just watch that 20 episodes
Yeah,
in a row.
that was so
very
cute and
adorable.
adorable.
And the same thing with Hanikawa when he's like, "Oh, you know everything. I don't know everything. I only know what I know." Like I wish I would have known that statement when I was a little kid because I would have said that all the time when like, "Oh, you think you know it all." Like that's the perfect comeback to that statement.
Yeah, and I think like even with like Hanakawa, like her arc is at the very end, right? But they start planting the seeds for that in episode 1 and episode 2 and
all
episode,
my
like,
notes are always like
the entire
Hanikawa
thing.
question mark, Shinobu question mark, and then once we got to that final arc, it was like, well, I can get rid of all these question marks because they kind of gave you like something of what was going.
I'm very much of the. I seem to be the unpopular opinion in the room. I hate the whole Hachikuji arc. Now, my opinion of it is slightly better now because when I watched it initially, and I guess this also has to do with the first question about the language thing, right? My problem throughout the show that pretty much made or broke certain arcs was my understanding of it, right? It wasn't necessarily that it was bad, but how long did they stay on it, and was it accessible? The first arc, I felt like at the beginning it was like, what? But by the time I got to the end, I was fully understanding of what happened. When I got to Hachikuji, I feel like maybe if they just made it 2 episodes, I'd probably have a better like feeling towards it. But because it's 3 episodes about Araragi finding himself, and then not only that, I feel like that that development he gets is then not even really touched on until episode 12, and then that was another thing, like the way the episodes are formatted, because there's a 12 and a 15 episode version. The payoff for certain arcs just doesn't seem like it's in the right place.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with that.
Like,
because there were some arcs that when it concluded, I was like, "Yes, this was awesome." And then there was, especially like the snake arc. I was like, I wanted this to be done as soon as possible.
So the snake arc was my least favorite arc for a few reasons. One, I think that the issue that our girl, one sec,
Sengoku
Sengoku was having was sort of the weakest one. And I don't know, maybe someone else knows something about this, or if none of you guys know, if someone loves the show and can write in the comments, I'd love to have this sort of explained. But it seems like she got very unlucky for a multitude of reasons, and so she was horribly cursed. But like usually there was like a message or something to take away from the ailment.
Yep.
Whether it's the weightlessness or envy with the monkey paw type of thing, or the issues with repressing stress.
All she did was turn a boy down, right?
So she turns a boy down because she's in love with Araragi.
Why wouldn't you be, though?
6 years ago. I mean, he's great, but I don't know. She doesn't need to be in love with him, and her friends curse her because they're upset about.
I think that was the weakest arc too. I like the end of it just because, like, as somebody who normally only watches like battle shonen, that was the first time you got to see like a fight at the end. When didn't he fight whatever came out of her?
Yeah, he fought the snakes.
Like, I liked that. That was cool.
The fight scenes in the show were surprisingly good. I felt like.
Yeah, they
It
are.
didn't feel like it was a fighting show, but they were all well done. I don't know which arc it was, but when I had a question in my notes, he like got blood sucked out of him from Shinobu, and that made him more powerful to like fight somebody.
I was
the
so
monkey paw one.
confused.
I rewinded
like,
it
what
3
the fuck
times
is
and
that?
kept reading
Yeah.
it, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? She
Yeah.
sucked the blood out of him, and it makes him more powerful. Like,
Yeah, so I mean that is.
at the end, you find out she's like this vampire who's probably or obviously causing all these apparitions. But I still don't understand why, like, taking his blood out. Like, I could see if he sucked her blood, or like
he is part vampire, right? So
Yep.
he's 1/10 vampire. So my understanding of it was that, like, him getting his blood removed from, like, it talks about how there are 2 different reasons vampires feed.
yeah,
right?
I remember that later in the
So
story,
there's
too.
to sustain themselves, and then there is to create other vampires. So I guess my impression was that she was temporarily making him a stronger vampire through the process of like creating other vampires. I
Has
don't
anybody
have,
ever watched
Oh,
True
okay.
Blood? 'Cause I'm going off of True Blood, and in True Blood, you drain them and then you fill them back up with your own blood. Or like to give people more like limited power, you can just like fill up a vial of blood. They call it like V or something like that, and then the
Yes.
dudes are literally like taking blood in their mouth, or I don't know how they do it, but they're literally getting stronger like off this vampire. So I was just super like shocked that he lost blood and got stronger.
Yeah, going back to the snake arc real quick, I do think the end result where he's not able to defeat the apparitions and Kanbaru has to save him sort of feeds into like the revelation he has in episode 15 when he's fighting Black Hanakawa. Because like I think that's the first time, because like he's selfless to a fault, right? And people criticize him for that.
He can't save
And
everybody.
he doesn't really consider the people who care about him, like when he's like sacrificing himself and stuff. So I feel like him being able to leave that fight, even though he was a little forced to, was an important step for his journey, like from episode 1 to episode 15. But I also think that like the scaffolding around that lesson was the weakest of all the lessons we learned during the course
Was
of
it
the show.
just to show Araragi that he can't save everyone? Was that?
That is what I got out of it.
That's
I
what
don't
I
want
got
to.
out
That's
of
what I
it,
got
too.
out of it too, because like you said, the girl didn't seem like she did anything wrong. She was just in the wrong spot at the wrong time or whatnot. Where everybody else did do something kind of, even if it was not the biggest.
Well, they had personal issues they had to deal with. Hitagi clearly didn't do anything wrong, but she had to like accept her past and stuff, and like learn to take on the burden of her stuff.
She had to be able to take her baggage and move forward.
Yeah, like she had to, you have to bear the weight of your past, right? So like, and I thought there was a bunch of really cool stuff in that, like how she still has some weight, Like she weighed, I think, 5 grams. So like there's still that present, that looming dread she has from like the experiences and stuff. Like as much as she tries to get rid of it all, it can't all go away. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I thought the first arc was amazing. Like, I think it was still my favorite arc. Like, I thought the other arcs were good, but I mean, even just like the Senjo Gahara introduction, and then when she pulled out all those, I mean, she had what, like protractors, pencils, all kinds
stuff. Yeah, I love that.
I don't know
Just
what
the-
was going on, but I laughed so hard. Like
Yeah.
it was so funny. And then she did it again. And then later when he's like, I can't let you take all those things into Oshino's place, and she like opens her arms and you get like the scene where
Yeah.
just never ending stuff falling. Like that was awesome for me.
I've always thought that was used to like structure herself because she talks about how because she's so weightless, she like can't wear clothes properly
Yeah,
and
she-
like
Yeah.
Heavier. So how did she
so I-
carry all
it was
that?
like her attempt to weigh herself down, just by carrying all these school supplies. So we've had some mixed opinions, I think, on the snail arc.
I love the snail arc too. I think I did 10 out of 10 on the first one, and then the snail was like a 9 out of 10.
So,
And then it went down.
So real quick, because like I disconnected for a second because my
Mhm.
internet decided it was going to be a dickhead.
Go ahead.
So what?
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you said good.
Good.
Yeah.
But like, so just going back to, because I think we were on like talking about the different arcs, right?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. So like so just to get mine out of the way, if you've gotten everybody else.
We already talked about the first 3 arcs so far.
Oh, okay. Well, honestly,
1, 2, and 4.
okay.
Oh,
So
yeah, the third one was the monkey paw. That's right.
yeah. So honestly, I think mine was probably the Hanakawa arc, the cat, the
Tsubasa
Fucking-
cat arc. Yep.
yeah
Your favorite or least favorite?
favorite
That's my favorite.
because fucking I'm name cat. I have the name cat Zodiac for a fucking reason. So but like it's also because like I actually liked Hanakawa the best out of all the girls in the show, mainly partially because she's obviously the best waifu.
Bro.
That's hands down. Fight me.
People
But-
live
Huh?
cat in the comic.
Let's talk
Please,
about
if you're watching
arcs
this.
first, and we'll talk waifus later.
Waifus
We
is
will.
waifus
Okay,
will be
okay.
talked about
But-
plenty because they are a big part of this show's popularity. So we will definitely touch on that later. There's no reason.
Yeah.
not.
But
The
like
arc itself. So what do you like specifically about the arc more than the others? Let's say.
so first of all, I liked the actual fight scene because it was so instead of like turning away from a lot of the gore, it kind of stayed onto it because it kind of made us let us know that the gore wasn't completely there from the Tsubasa. Not.
I thought it was pretty
Monkey
gory.
arc.
The 3 fights it had, like when he fought the
Yeah.
snake, when he was coming by, it was like chopping his arm, and you see his arm go completely limp, and then the same thing to his leg. And
Yeah, but like it kind of lets you know that the gore wasn't permanent. Let's put it that way. So like his body parts would come back. So it didn't really need to continue to look away from it, and it didn't like patronize you in a way that it made you like, oh, you don't need to see this. Like just because of that, it kind of helped. It helped me like really internalize. Holy shit, this is fucking badass. Like, but then also, I think my favorite part of that arc, and which actually kind of accelerated it, was when after the end, when Hanakawa just kind of accepts like who she is and
friend zone.
just like, yeah, pretty much. Like,
oh yeah, she gets friend
except-
zoned.
Friend zone hard, and I'm all
Do we think she accepted it?
I don't know if she
No,
accepts
she
it.
didn't
She
accept
knows
it.
where she's like where she is.
sorry,
She like the whole arc was that she was trying to suppress those feelings because she was trying to she wasn't she was trying to just to kind of like let the relationship be the same as it was before, because I think she knows what she knows, and she knew that Araragi was not fuck.
Not available. He was with Benjo.
Exactly, and she
Yeah.
didn't want to push him through, like put him through all the like pushing.
Yeah. So
Fuck.
could I give a different interpretation of that arc? I guess so. I don't think Hanakawa dealt with her issues, and I don't know. You might know more than me because you've seen the rest.
Mhm.
But so it's clear. So the first time she turns, like her apparition takes over and she becomes a cat, it is due to issues with her parents, right, or her adoptive parents, or
Correct.
whatever.
Mhm.
Okay. So we actually know that that's still a very large issue for her through lots of things, but like first off in episode 4 when she can see Hachikuji, right? Because of her she has no desire to go home. And then there are other hints you get throughout the show that her family life is not good. She talks about it some. And I feel like that's still causing her stress. Now, we know that it was originally solved with Shinobu, like, I guess, draining her essence or whatever, like taking away power from the apparition.
Yep.
And in this case, it's how they solve the Araragi issue as well. Like, she never kneeled. Like, in fact, Araragi talks at the end after she's turned normal that he has no idea how much she remembered. Like, she, as far as I think, could still not have dealt with her issues. And
I don't think it's dealt with at all, really. Like,
yeah, and
it was the same as the first time. So
Yeah.
I would imagine if I keep watching the series, Black Hanikawa is going to come back, right? Like, you don't think she's gone, do you? She'll just come out next time she's like upset about something else.
There would have to be another arc dealing with Kanekawa later on for her
Yeah.
to not.
Yeah, I don't know if she
Like-
comes back in the show, to be honest.
I know that she does from
Okay.
what I've talked to friends about, like later stuff.
I guess
But
we can ask Kat. He's seen the
yeah,
show.
Kat, she comes back.
I'm not spoiling anything for you.
I've heard she comes back.
So if you want to know, you gotta watch it.
I'm going to. The show really did a good job of making me want to see more of it. But I liked that Hanakawa arc because they don't fix their issues. It's not an easily solved thing. She still has these issues. They're temporarily put away, but the underlying cause of them isn't fixed. And I think that's important with a show like this, where you have people working through all of these different mental traumas and stuff, because sometimes that's really hard to do, right? Like, fixing anxiety or stress or, any of the things that, we looked at, not knowing your place in the world or what direction you want to go, like Araragi has issues with, aren't things that you can, fix just by fighting a crab, right? Like,
Yeah.
So I thought that was like a really, it was like a message to remind us that, like, while lots of, these issues get fixed, they're not all easily fixable. And Hanakawa was the one where we got to see that not be the case.
But
Also,
you can go.
also it's not really the just getting fixed. It's coping with it, because
No,
like-
you're right. You need methods to like deal with your issues while you're experiencing them.
Which I think
Yeah.
all the other girls
So, like-
did do, where Hanikawa just buried them and tossed them in the closet and put the clothes over them, I feel.
No,
Yeah.
like the thing is, Hanekawa, she couldn't. Okay, so in the Hanekawa arc, at the end, she's not really tossing them in the closet and just getting away with them, like just throwing them away. Like, the reason why she's crying at the end of that arc is because she is finally like expressing all the shit that she's holding in. Because
Didn't Araragi say that she probably doesn't even remember anything that happened? So, like, how would
See, I thought that the scene of her crying was Hanakawa guilting Araragi into not being with her by like showing him a vision of like her being devastated by his rejection. Because I don't think that, because there's that very famous scene of her crying, right? It's beautifully
Yeah.
animated.
Yeah.
And I don't think that happens, but I don't know, maybe it does. I just thought that, or maybe that's like her internally, like her trapped inside of the apparition. I think that's a perfectly fine interpretation of it. I just assumed that didn't happen. I don't know about everyone else.
I kind of assume that like in the entire series, looking back on it, I think every one of those girls that he talks to, he doesn't really solve the issue. I think the only two he really solves the issue with are not even. I guess it's just his own issue. It when I,
Made Senju Gahara's life like considerably better.
he did, but it's like it's still a
Literally
process.
wandering around as a lost spirit, and he got her to, what did she say? She got a promotion to now like a wandering spirit or something like that. So that's 2 for 2. Monkey Paw, I guess I don't know what you say about her.
Senjo helped her, right? So like I think that Araragi is like a really good point guard, right? Like he's dishing out assists.
Yeah, he doesn't save anyone; they save themselves.
Other people are scoring, you know. Like Senjo helps her own issues. Senjo helps Kanbaru. Senjo, I guess, gives the assist with the Hachikuji thing.
Oh, for sure she does.
But like that was another thing I liked about this. Like, so I'm a big visual novel guy. In a lot of these visual novels where you have like the harem type stuff, and I guess I haven't watched a lot of harem anime, but you have a guy and he helps the girls with their problems, they get better, and then he picks his favorite girl, and that's what happens. But like,
do they normally not pick a favorite girl right away and start dating? Is that not like a regular harem?
That never happens.
Yeah. It's like I was like, this is weird. I thought I was gonna like be able to guess who was gonna end up with. So me, the whole time I was also waiting for like with that time when he, like episode 12, when he went out with Senjo Gahara or whatever, I thought he was going to break up with her there and be like, I'm moving on to Hanikawa or whatever. Because he seems like he likes her more, but.
Yeah, and Hachikuji talks about that, right?
Yeah.
She's like,
I was
assuming
shocked
you were
the whole
off
time that he was still with her when it ended.
Well,
Oh God, I want to talk about episode 12 later because it is just so beautiful.
I think that's the reason why that this show gets compared to Bunny Girl Senpai so much too. Is that there's the lead front running girl in Mai, and
I've not watched that show, so I'll have to watch it.
Let's not.
It's
okay.
similar. No,
So
it's not a spoiler by any means because
I
it's
don't even
very
care.
clear.
no. What I'm saying is like I feel a bit like Bunny Girl Senpai was inspired at least a little bit by Monogatari,
100%.
by the Monogatari series.
10,000.
So
yeah.
so in like my in my like own discussions with my head, because I'm fucking crazy if you haven't noticed. So my description of it is that Monogatari was a brainchild, and it just kind of got mixed with a lot of comedy and a lot of like witty humor. And Bunny Girl Senpai kind of didn't take out all of the humor, but it had more of a focus on the drama itself. And like like I said, my description of it would probably be that Bunny Girl Senpai is a more serious version of the Monogatari series. Well, at least Bakemonogatari, because the rest is fucking crazy. Okay.
Okay. I can kind of see how that description would work. I don't know. I think Bunny Girl Senpai still has plenty of comedy, and it's definitely it's still a rom-com. It's not just a drama. It's definitely a rom-com. But I can definitely see how that would, in comparison to this series, at least I can see how that works. But while we were kind of just discussing the dialogue and everything. We should just cover that real quick. So, as someone who's learned, God, every time I start start talking, my webcam shuts off. So you know what? I'm calling it a day. I'm unplugging it for good, and we're just gonna stare at this beautiful photo of Kenshin and Kaoru for the rest of the day, whenever I talk. But you know what? I'll have a different one the next time. But anyways, the dialogue, I would say that as someone who's slowly but surely, and by slowly I mean very, very slowly, trying to learn Japanese, I enjoyed listening to the dialogue and trying to put together some of the various word plays and or references that they are making while they're talking. And I thought the dialogue was one of the most enjoyable parts of the series, at least again for me, very specifically when it was between Senjukahara and Araragi, or there's a few other scenes. Like I also really liked Suruga or Kambaru. I really liked her dialogue. She was very funny and just blunt.
She
Hanakawa
really
was
grew
very
on me as it
interesting.
went on.
Yeah. I mean, again, they were all enjoyable when they were
I
talking. There were just moments where I was just kind of just not really getting it, or I was just getting
Episode
bored.
4 dragged for me specifically, or episode 3 did. The one that is technically part of the Hachikuji arc,
That's
but you
episode
never
4.
Okay,
Where they're at
you
the
don't
playground or whatever.
Yeah, where you don't see her, and
Yeah.
it's just it's like a 25-minute conversation
Yeah.
between Senjo.
See, I love that
And-
episode.
Yeah, I loved all that. That's why I think I want to watch more subbed anime. Because going from shonen anime, the sub is nothing. They just scream for like
Well, that's just
15
because
minutes on it.
it's
Where I watch
shonen.
this, they're like actually talking. Like you could have a black screen with just dialogue coming up, and you could enjoy the show. Or if you enjoy the show, I think you would still enjoy it without the pictures. I could just listen to them all talk. The Araragi voice actor was amazing. And then the Senjogahara voice actor I thought was very well as also. There was the one scene where she even said like
How good her voice actor is.
I will say your name for roll call, and he's like, "What? Yes, my voice actor does a very good job at
I
imitating."
forgot about
Are
that.
we in
Oh
an
my
anime?
God.
Are we in an anime? He said, and I'm pretty sure Senjogahara said something about Son Goku in like the first couple episodes as well. Did she not?
Yeah. Oh, well, she she calls herself a tsundere.
Yeah, I had that in my notes
Yes.
too, like tsundere, like 50 times in a row with an exclamation.
She like at least breaks the 3.5 wall, right?
Yeah,
Like
like,
she's
yeah.
like
It-
it's never right through the screen until that voice actor comment, but like constantly she's sort of aware where she is.
You know what a Moe is? MOE. They kept saying that, and I have no clue
Means
what that.
cute.
Moe
Cute
Moe
girls
is
doing
like a
cute things.
subgenre.
All
Well,
right,
yeah,
for sure.
Moe just means cute because there's the subgenre of moe that's like the cute girls doing cute things, but moe in general is kind of just like it's like a cutesy. It's something that makes you go like aw, or like that's the kind
Yeah,
of.
I liked that. And then how
Man,
often
Miles
they
Boy
used
trash.
tsundere was amazing. Like every time Oshino or me, whatever that dude's name is, the sensei dude who would help solve the problems. When he like his nicknames for each girl was amazing. Like I
Bonnie,
love.
it was fantastic.
I was so sad when he was gone at the end. I really didn't want him to be.
Yeah. Honestly, that not gonna spoil anything.
Okay, great. That's good. But so did anyone have like a favorite instance of like wordplay or puns or like
Probably the
entendres?
That every time she would say Araragi or Rararagi,
Yes.
anything like that. That's why, like, I mean, Senjogahara is my favorite, but I would rather just watch, like, take out the sex shit and make Hachikuji his little sister and let him go play at the park. I'll watch that shit.
So my favorite was with Hachikuji as well. Just with the whole like snail pun, and like her name and like how it referenced like that pilgrimage. And so like her name means 89, which also can be translated as like misfortune.
Did they say that in the show or no?
They
Is that
they
what
talk
they're
about
talking about,
they
kanji and all
reveal
that?
this so they talk about it and then they reveal
to
it
write
in
it.
like layers. But Kayla and I had like a really fun time when we first figured out what her name meant, trying to figure out what it meant and like why it was that.
Do we ever get to see what's in her bag, Kat?
Doki Doki meta shit, man.
And so like her name being like a reference to like an 89th shrine which doesn't exist on a pilgrimage, and how people like who are looking for that 89th shrine because they don't want to go off of their pilgrimage are lost, and how misfortune like can relate to people who are lost in this pilgrimage, and the pilgrimage is in like a cyclical shape which fits in with the snail and everything, and it just like it is like very layered. And if you like could look at that more like up front, you'd be able to sort of guess where the the thing was going, but I don't speak any Japanese, so I had no idea.
This is the first show that actually made me like wish I knew Japanese.
Yeah,
I
that's
want to know what they're saying. Like, I'm sure, like, because can't tell the context, or like, I don't know
can't
the
say
accent
anything.
as well to know what they're saying. But like, just reading it's amazing. I want to know like really what it.
see, that's how I felt. I felt like if I knew Japanese, I probably would feel a lot better about this show in terms of comedy, in terms of storytelling. But because I don't, and because I'm a real casual viewer, a lot of this, like,
Probably feels like a
specifically-
chore then, almost, right?
Yeah, like specifically that episode you were talking about, episode 4 with Hachikuji, which is exactly, or of the Hachikuji arc, which is exactly why I have that arc so like as my least favorite. Like, there's conversations, but as a pleb American, it's not hitting for me, right?
I thought it was great, like the way she would start out like complaining to him about something, and then he would be like, well, you don't have to be so blunt. And then she would change her tone of voice to be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like I would never do something along those lines.
I
I
think
felt like it was easy enough translated reading it. I think it would be better if I could just understand it without the. I don't know.
I think what Has is getting to is there's probably like a 5-minute section in that episode where they talk about the kanji and then like put up a diagram
I
on the
love that.
screen.
It's
Oh,
so
I loved it
interesting.
too, and I had a lot
I
of
didn't know what it was. It's like, oh, they're teaching me. Like my favorite part of the shonen episodes are like the info dump episodes where they're literally just showing like charts and graphs explaining like how stuff is done. So it was cool, like jumping out of just the animated show to see these like slideshow of images, and they even would toss up like live action looking things too, like
Oh
eyeballs,
god, I loved all of that.
hands and stuff. Like, I thought
I
that was
hated
so
it.
cool.
What?
I did not like-
You
I
hated
didn't
it?
enjoy it at all. I thought
Like,
it was just
do you
so
like-
random. It was.
Are
just
you into like
Oh, it's
film,
so
like how films are cut and stuff like that? Because before I liked anime, I was like a movie buff, like a TV buff. I would just eat that stuff up, and I felt like this was the first anime I watched that used like movie or TV type like breaks and jumps
and the
and
cuts and
whatnot.
everything.
Like, it was
Oh my
so
God,
good,
it's so good.
and the music playing in the background was like my favorite thing ever. I don't look at my
When it's in
phone.
first person, how it like sways and everything.
Yeah,
You get
okay.
like, the head bob, and
I loved it. I thought that was so
Oh,
cool.
God,
It's like
it's so-
technical or whatever.
so good.
For me, again, for me, I like the music, the soundtrack, OST, whatever was good. The openings were fine, like
I like those
I
scenes,
I
too.
think they were okay, but I just didn't. None of them really stuck out to me, except for the one that everyone knows. The whatever it's called.
Renai
Renai
circulation.
Yeah, the one that Hana Kanazawa
Uh,
things. That
Dude,
yeah,
I
that's-
only like the second one. I only have
that's-
eyes for the second one.
no, the fifth one's my favorite.
That's the only one that. But that's the only one that really like stood out to me. But even then, though, the rest of them were fine. Like they were catchy, and they related to their arcs really well as well. Like they told like the second one was like left, right, left, right.
Yes.
Like direction
Yeah.
based.
So
Like
is that why there's 3 of them, or are we going to see 3 of her at some point?
Of who?
I think it's about her being high energy.
it's
Hachikuji or
about-
whatever.
I think it's about her not. There's one of them saying left, the other one is saying right, and then her actual self is trying to listen to the other two.
Okay, I like that.
That's the way I interpreted it, at least.
And
but,
the scene where she's in the gym and starts flinging around the ribbon, I just like that shit. I'll watch that.
but anyway, so I didn't. There were moments where like the quick cuts or the fast cuts were very funny and entertaining, but there were other times where I was just so distracted constantly by the text coming up so distracted by whatever was going on the screen and why it was changing so much. I was like almost trying to focus too much on why is it changing, what is the message it's trying to send, or what is it trying to do, when sometimes there were moments where like you said, with the head swaying and everything, like it made sense, or it was trying to be like, oh, this is this person's perspective of what's happening. But there were other times where I was just like, this is distracting, and it's not making me understand the situation any better. It's not helping me enjoy this show.
It's like I think they're supposed to represent jumps in thoughts between the characters. So there are some that are just still frames with a color, right? So it'll be black, red, lilac. There's some others. So I think black is a reframing of Araragi's like mental state, or how he's interpreting something, or maybe when he blinks, but like it like splits it up like that. Another thing was the camera clicks when he blinks.
Yeah.
And he's like really focusing on something, I thought was amazing. I loved the stuff where it would go to a screen and it would say like nonsensical response to follow, and then Aragi would
Yeah.
like, get lost in what he was trying to say.
Did it at times too, like say like insert infomercial or commercial here or
Yep.
something like that? Like, I just
Yeah,
thought all those
that
little
was-
jokes were good. I just liked it. It made me laugh.
Some of it was really funny, but I do share the sentiment where it's like some of it and I think especially towards the beginning. Like especially towards the beginning, a lot of the cuts and like reusing of certain animations, because that happens a lot too, just feels like it was put there for the sake of being there rather than a funny joke. Like it was meant to like be like later on, which is why I feel like later on I get more and more praise to the show. But like in the beginning, first half is just like I paused it and read it, and it was like it's not hitting. It also
It's a callback to
maybe
the
not-
light novel. It's like that's what I've always heard is that it's like it's a
Yeah,
callback.
I think it
meant
was
to be,
Happy. The dude
like,
in our
an
Discord
Easter
just said, "Don't try to read it."
I think it was
Yeah.
Adams,
If you
too,
really
at
want
least.
to, he said, "Don't try to read it." So what I would do is like the first 3 slides were slow, and there was like it started with one word, and then it would have 2 lines, and then 3 lines, and then after that, I didn't even try to see what it was.
You were getting like clips
would make
and
my ADD
phrases
trigger.
from the light novel, from the scenes they were on. So like you would get like dialogue they couldn't fit in, or like things like that, and it enhances it, but you don't need to like. It's like setting a mood, and so like
For, like,
reading
the
2 or
ultra
3
weeb
of
fun
them
at all.
gets you like into the mood for the next scene you're going to read, or lets you know a character's mindset. At least in my opinion, I could see it being a lot.
See, that's also something that I noted too, which is why I have 2 different ratings for this show, because it's very apparent to me this show, whatever they adapted, did not fit into the 12 or 15 episodes that they were given. It felt really fast, and I guess that's also why like something like episode 4, like it's a 25-minute episode with lots of dialogue throughout the whole thing, but those 25 minutes feel like an hour. Like they're saying a lot of things really fast, back and forth. It's supposed to be witty, and it's just like there's too much happening right now.
I agree. The dialogue is very fast paced.
Can I say something that would like contrast it though?
of course.
Because they do have a lot of parts where it's a lot of dialogue, and I thought they did a really cool scene when they're stargazing, and they're just looking at the stars, and then a song plays, and the song is like relaying the message without saying the words to each other. And I thought that was a really cool scene. It's like everything that this song is saying in the premise of the story, it makes perfect sense. It's like if it wasn't in a song, they'd be saying it to each other anyway. So I thought that was like a really cool scene where they cut away from all this heavy dialogue and it's just like, how about we just shut up and look at the stars?
That episode where it like starts off and then it mirrors itself. So like they have like the same conversation they had in the car when Senjo Gahara is teasing Araragi because her dad is there.
How great was that though? Just like
it was
thinking back to when you were in
good.
high school with your girlfriend in the car with their dad. It just like
It was
made me
perfect.
feel exactly how Araragi was feeling.
It was
Pretty
like-
much that entire episode.
It is my favorite romance episode of an anime ever.
Mine too,
I
but I
think
think
it's
it's my
absolutely
first.
perfect. Like
Yeah.
she was teasing him at the beginning, like the "Oh, I love you so much. Do you love me, Araragi?" Because like her dad was there.
Yo, so is her last name
Oh, yes.
and Jogo? I'm so confused
Yes.
on what the names
That's
are.
the Japanese thing where
Yeah,
a lot
so
of people
like
say their last
I
names.
originally thought that Araragi was like his first name and his like whatever what his other name was his family name.
Toyomi, yeah.
Yeah, so that confuses me so much because in the dub they just get rid of that. They only call them by their first
Well,
name.
speaking of Dragon Ball Z, since you're a Shonen fan, Goku is his last name. His
Yeah,
first name is
yeah.
not Goku. So it's like they always go by their last name unless they're like, it's like a very formal thing where like, unless you're like really good friends with them, you don't use your first name.
Yeah, because Tower of God too, like Kun. There's a million different Kuns in the Tower of God. So like after season 1, they don't even call him Kun anymore. Because if you called him Kun, there'd be 7 different people who turn around and look at.
That's true.
Spoiler.
His name is like
I was
Kun
gonna say,
Aguero.
like what the fuck?
Aguero and
Spoilers
Mary.
here, yeah.
You don't have to spoil it for people, bro.
I mean, he's one of the 10. Whatever. I won't say anything else,
sorry,
but yeah,
Rachel. Continue.
oh, it's a last name.
I also
That confuses me.
I also liked episode 12, but episode 12 is one of those things where it's like, so I was saying with the way that the show kind of has a weird pacing issue with payoffs, I feel like episode 12 was an interruption in an arc that it shouldn't be there. Like it should have been somewhere else.
Was the last arc like a real arc? I felt like it was the first 3 episodes of that arc were not like, yeah, she was turning into the cat, but it was like the B story in those 3 episodes.
It was the first episode,
two
episode 12, and then the last 3. But the thing about the show, and I didn't realize this until thinking about it today, and if someone has evidence to the contrary, let me know, but it happens in exactly real time.
Yeah,
So-
no, it does.
Yeah. So, like, the reason that split up happens is because that's when their date was scheduled, right? Like, it's just life was, you know,
Yeah.
he was taking a break from all he was doing.
Think about that. That's awesome.
It is.
I like
At first,
Yeah.
it's like, wow, this is like really weird that they're having their first date so late. But it was like 2 days after they got together, or like 3 days after they decided to, you know, date each other, which is perfectly reasonable in high school, right? So, like,
Yeah.
I thought, like, I think the pacing is weird and jarring, but I think it's because we see it like 12 hours of every day, you know, and like there are lulls in there, and there are just long conversations in there, and I think that I don't know. I guess I just have like a real appreciation for the characterization we get through those moments.
It's also like you were saying, and that's also why it's like a weird thing for me, because one episode I watched a 12 episode run first before I knew there was a 15 episode run, so I was like, this is how it ends. You just set up an arc. But
I think somebody
then-
said that was like rights problem, so it was never supposed to be a 12 episode show. It was a 15 episode show, and then something happened with the rights for the last 3 episodes.
Okay.
That is
So-
what I've heard. Don't word of
Yeah.
God.
That would make sense, because if it ended at episode 12, I would feel like I
Yeah.
feel like it would be cheated out of a show.
So
Well,
I
that's
was
the
like-
thing. Because, like, oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, that's why I was confused, like, when episode 13 came, and it was, like, it starts off with the end of the date, like, he's happy, and it's like, so that was on purpose, and then, I guess I couldn't really complain, because, like, it's just timing, but then it also reminded me of the conversation, I think it was with you, Tyler, about domestic girlfriend, or someone else in the chat, and it was like, it's realistic, but it doesn't. But I would rather it take advantage of it being a story than being realistic in that situation.
I think that's a really fair take. What I guess just like one last defense of the date episode as far as like its timeline goes is when Aragi asks Hitagi to help with Hanakawa, she really doesn't want any of that.
She's the only one who said no.
Yeah, she says no, and she has like, I guess she's like focusing on her own life and her own responsibilities
She
and
said
stuff.
she's doing what Hanikawa asked her to do.
Yes, that as
Plan
well.
School, something or another. I can't remember what it was.
But like, I don't know. I guess like you have to fit a date in there somewhere, right? Like I guess you don't have to, but the episode is so good that I can't. I couldn't take it out of the series.
It was great. I loved it.
I guess it could have
I
been
like
for
it too,
between
especially
the last
because
2 arcs.
You got her for 2 episodes and then a little bit in the 3rd one or the 4th one. And then you didn't really see her. Like, yeah, he talked to her on the phone or see her for a quick scene. And then episode 12, you got a lot of her. And like, as someone who likes her the most, I was happy to see her. So I didn't really care when it was.
Mhm.
It also, like, for me, it just made more sense for it to be episode 11, because when the whole arc of, like, Araragi and Hitagi's relationship, I'm not going to pronounce the last name. Yeah, their relationship, while, yes, there are smaller arcs in the story, I feel like the snail arc and the snake arc, regardless of how we feel, like, they also play into his relationship with her, because a lot of the conversations and problems that they have are either talked about, like, with, like, he doesn't have direction, what is he going to do, how is he going to be in the future with her, or like, you can't put yourself in these dangerous situations, and like, you have somebody that's waiting for you that cares about you. Whereas Hanakawa's arc, like, you put it in the middle of there, I don't see Hanakawa's arc relating to this relationship at all. So it felt like it was an odd place to put a payoff for the first 3 arcs. In my opinion.
I think that maybe because they originally got like time restricted to the 12 episodes before they could get their full 15 in, that they didn't want to end with what is 11, because and I think I agree with you that 12 would fit better where 11 is, and if you like flipped them, seeing all 15. But if you can only air 12 episodes, I wonder if the decision was to end it on a very good note for Aragi and Senjougahara's relationship.
And if you would have started the Black Hanikawa, like got it deeper in, I think people would have been pretty upset. Like if it would have episode, say 14 would have been, or 13 would have been episode 12, it would be like starting up a new story almost, and then it would be.
Yep, I agree with that.
So that wouldn't really make any sense where, yeah, it might seem out of place to have Senjougahara there, but it was almost like a standalone / like callback to the first arc. So it'd be like, hey, this is what's going to happen, and you can see what happens next in the next like Monogatari series or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so hold on real quick. So I just want to clear this up real quick. So it turns out that Monogatari was not. So it turns out it's not a. It wasn't that it was a 12 episode series that the other 3 were ONAs. It turns out that it was actually aired on. It was actually aired altogether as a 15 episode series, and it was the thing that ended up happening was that 12 episodes were put on Crunchyroll, and then the last 3 episodes were on wherever it was, and that
Funimation.
Yeah, it was on Funimation, but because that was really confusing for me because I remember watching all 15 on Crunchyroll a long time ago, so that was
maybe that's when it happened, when the Crunchyroll and Funimation like broke up, and then they had to like
fuck Funimation, okay?
They had to
Fuck
split their
Funimation.
shows up. I'm guessing that's what it was. So I'm pretty sure I saw the 15 episode on Crunchyroll too when I watched it, but then yeah, they had like their own breakup like 2 years ago between Crunchyroll and Funimation, and they had like split up their shows.
Well, it was just to finish this segue off. It was Funimation, Crunchyroll, and Verve. They all got into the contract, and then Funimation got bought out by another company, and then Funimation was like, "Yo, we're gonna take all the shonen," and then Crunchyroll was like, "No, you're not," and then they took the licensing for different things. So,
so does anyone have any more? We got a little derailed there, but any more opinions on like the stylistic choices and stuff that were made? The use of like, realistic people or any camera methods that were used. Tyler, you sound pretty knowledgeable about that. And, I
just thought it was super cool. Like I personally, I like love Quentin Tarantino movies. They're just weird. A lot of them don't have much of a plot. They're just characters interacting in some weird situation. And at the end, they kind of all come together for like a mini plot / fight, and bad shit happens. It's kind of how I felt about this series. It was like 4 or 5 characters.
Dialogue heavy, yeah.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino's super dialogue heavy too.
It reminds me a bit of
I mean, it's not
Tarantino movie.
obviously exactly like it, but the weird jump cuts and the weird angles and all that, and then the keep calling back to the same jokes over and over. He likes to do that too. I just thought it was super well done. Like it felt like a technical anime. Going from watching One Piece for the last like 3 months straight, it was much better than One Piece in my opinion.
I think that just the fact that this show was created in 2009 and it looks the way it does now, I think is just absolutely incredible. If I watched this in 2009, I'd be losing my shit.
We'd be seniors in high school. I would never watch
yeah,
shit.
like no matter. Because I was like, I was trying to debate whether this is like the best directed anime I've ever seen. Because Keep Your Hands Off Aizoken that came out earlier this year is just a director masterpiece.
Maybe I should watch that.
I think this is like the best like directing of any anime I've ever seen. I absolutely love like the cinematography. I love how they switch panels. I love how they go from like anime to like a like hand drawn image to like live action in like a span of like 10 seconds. It's just like
just flashing through
it's cool
images.
when they take risks, like,
and how the live action is always used for things that are supposed to be like eerie, right? Like uncomfortable things, like when they were showing what was happening to Hitagi's mom. And and like you had the cultists be like these weird people and these realistic hands and stuff, and it's just it really, I feel like, puts you on edge when you see real life stuff in an animated show in the way that they filmed it, and I thought they used that really well.
Yep, I thought the cinematography absolutely incredible. Maybe that's the animation itself was really good, but just like how they panned everything together was incredible.
Yeah.
I just want to put this. Out there with the animation itself. So it was made by Studio Shaft, like that. It was animated by Studio Shaft. I mean, and just putting this out there. I remember putting a video into the Discord chat. By the way, there's a Discord chat for these anime.
Links in the description below.
Yeah. So there was a picture mixing the Monogatari style with the Fate style, and it kind of had the Fate like more whatever the A word is. If anybody knows how to fucking pronounce that shit, but
I don't know.
yeah, but like it had a combination of those two styles, and it literally looked exactly like Monogatari, and it looked like it was an upscale of Fate. So that gives you an idea, because this Fate was made in 2017, and it's still slightly backwards
The rest
when
of the
it comes to.
Monogatari's use the same style of animation, or do they
Yeah,
change?
the same style.
Nice.
Okay,
I really liked it. At first, I
most
didn't
part.
know if I liked it, but after like one episode, I was like, "This is amazing looking." Like they're super like realistic looking and whatnot. It was, I don't know, it was super cool.
I like the flat colors and stuff they used.
Yeah.
Like just a lot of one-tone stuff I thought was great. Okay, so I'm gonna steer the conversation. I thought we had a pretty good conversation about all of that. But what I guess will probably be our most negative and or controversial period of it is about how you guys felt fan service and like topics of sex and sexuality were dealt with in the series.
I'd like to start with this because I never I don't do fan service. Like I said, I only watch shonen, so there's like a fan service moment once every 100 episodes.
Go to the beach. Or
And I
whatever.
thought it was going to be like jarring, and I wouldn't be able to take it. But really, the only thing I would shake my head at is like I'm not a lolicon in any way, shape, or form. So any of that stuff, I shook my head. Same thing with what was her name, Sengoku. I was still shaking my head at that. She's
The
still
Sengoku part.
but anything
Man.
else, I'm down for it. They're the same age. You can show them the panties, get naked in front of each other. It's all cool.
So,
It's,
Kat, go ahead.
like I feel the same way as you do, Tyler. Because like the thing is, my biggest issue with it is like I just try and act like that whole arc, the whole like both of them, the one in the future and the one in the past. Yes, there's one in the past, and yes, it sucks. I feel like I just try and block that out of my memory for the most part.
I just try to look at it as a sister relationship. Even though it isn't, you just take out the part where Hachikuji's like, "Oh, you like to grab my little, I don't know what she called it, but her saying it, I laugh at, but him doing it, I shake my head at."
Or whatever. Like, so the Hachikuji stuff, I didn't like. It was uncomfortable, but I thought that the most gratuitous use of fan service was the Sengoku stuff, because there was no need for her to get naked.
It was for Kanburo to fawn over. Like the only person who was enjoying it was Kanburo.
Well, she just enjoyed making like Araragi uncomfortable, right? Like
is she doing that or not?
And I don't think she was enjoying it. I think she was like telling Araragi he should be enjoying it or something. But like the whole scene where she's showing off that she has scales, there are like literally 700 different ways she could show off. She could pull her shirt up and show her midriff. She could pull her pants up. She could switch into the bathing suit in the bathroom that she was wearing, later on.
It could be a scene where they give back the underwear. That's probably the only reason for it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't like. I thought like the fan service and stuff with like Shinjo Gahara and Hanakawa.
Bro, too. Like, she's plenty close enough.
Yeah, actually, like,
For it.
it did help at least a little bit, or you can at least make the argument that it helps with Aragi's characterization. A lot of it's in first person, and as someone who used to be a teenage boy, I mean, I did like looking at boobs, still do, but I was probably less overt about it, or less, like,
Clip
if
that.
I had a chance, I was
Perfectly quiet, too, so it'd be awesome.
As I was gonna say, like, I think as someone who pretty much started on fan service, and like I'm just getting out of my teenage years. I'm still in them. God bless. More life. The show kind of had what I would say is like the kill effect for me, where it's like when Sengoku was on screen, yeah, she was like naked, but it never really registered as like a sexual thing to me. Even though and I guess it's also like for me, like the joke didn't land with Kambaru too, so I guess that's also why. If that joke lands, it sets context up for like, oh, now it's kind of weird. Whereas something like Hachikuji, like that was just no, like that was a no.
So
limits.
Yeah.
I guess I had issues with the Hachikuji stuff, and I thought the groping stuff was weird. Like, I don't want to say it wasn't weird. That is played off like it's weird, right? Like, Hachikuji is like, you're weird. Araragi thinks to himself,
again, so then I was like,
I'm weird. Oh. Like, and with the Sengoku thing, it's like, I mean, one of the characters like lampshades the hell out of it. Like, right? Kanbaru is just like, we're sexualizing an 8th grader, like that. And so like, I guess that's why it was like my least favorite part, and it wasn't even in a scenario that it was even believable for it to be the case. It just, I don't know. That's why it didn't. That's why it was the worst part for me.
It's just like how you like. For me, it's just like maybe I'm just desensitized because of all the ecchi I watch, but like it really just didn't even register as like a sexual thing when it happened on screen. Like I've seen far worse and far more sexual things in anime, so. Like I just came off Domestic Girlfriend at this point too, right? Like I'm.
Don't bring that. That's not.
Oh,
okay.
My issue is that it's a very vulnerable girl, right? Like she's a girl who is vulnerable, who is in this position, and she is naked in what I would consider a rather sexual pose. It's not like she's like chest out, or like legs or anything, but she's like kneeling and holding her breasts up and stuff.
Your whole point, Miles, that there were so many other ways they could have done it is the part where I am getting caught up on because I'm getting caught up on because I agree completely, and I'm just like, why other than like, so when fan service is part of the show because it exists or it happens in the show and it makes sense, I don't get bothered by it. It's when it's so overtly shoved in and unnecessary, that's when I get put off the most. And this is like you said, this is an example of where the fan service did not have to happen. It did nothing for the show, in my opinion. Like, you could argue, oh well, she's feeling this embarrassment because it's a guy she likes or it's a guy she has feelings for, but she'd be feeling this embarrassment if it was a fucking creep, or pardon me, a creep that she doesn't like too. It's not like it did almost nothing for me in terms of making that story. That's again that arc. I hated the arc so much. Like, it was so, and just the fact that I mean, I would have been uncomfortable if that was Senjo Gahara doing it, like or someone of age, so to speak, doing it, like because I still would have sat there and been like, why didn't they just pull her? Like, have her pull her pants up.
Kind of do it earlier in the show.
She was doing it, but she was willingly doing it intentionally.
That type of fan service, right?
Well, it felt unnecessary, but it was there, but it wasn't distracting, and it wasn't
there for it.
There's also a good juxtaposition in the Senjo Gahara shower scene and everything, where she's prepping for this like really solemn event in her life, and Araragi is like, holy shit, tits, right? Like, I think part of it is that she has been so desensitized and like, and like the camera you know, like, okay, like I'm reading into it a little bit too much, right? I'm giving it too much credit. Like the camera's like, look, Senjogahara has boobs and an ass, but I still think there's some juxtaposition there between like the solemnity of the moment and what Araragi is focusing on, as opposed to the Sengoku thing. I don't know. I thought the Sengoku thing was jarring compared to other instances of fan service in the show.
100% agree. I think that's like
Yeah.
the best way to put it, where it was a completely different from just your normal, oh, yeah, cleavage shots, or oh, hey, this is what Araragi's looking at. It was instead, it was, hey, look, let's sexualize this 15-year-old because we can. It was so significantly different in my eyes from the rest of the fan service that, again, I get why it's there. It's there to draw eyes. It's there to draw attention. It's there because it's what sells, right? It's what creates the figures. It's what sells the prints. It's what sells whatever. But there are times where it can fit into a show very well. Like again, best example, Tom and Gurren Lagann fits right into the show. Doesn't distract. Kill a Kill, same way. It doesn't distract from the show. If anything, it boosts the message of the show.
You're
In
not
my
speaking for
opinion,
everybody, by the way.
I can tell I'm not speaking for everyone, but you know what? I don't care about everyone. I care about myself. So there we go.
We see that.
Big true.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You need
But
an Araragi character arc.
I
That's what you need.
but my point is, compared to this show where the fan service was distracting and it was just there to be there. It wasn't. It was there, and then on top of that, it was also very perverted in a non acceptable way.
So I don't think that's true for the entire show, but I think
Not
it's
the entire show.
okay for the
No.
okay because
Yeah, yeah.
like the second scene, like after the first cut, it's a panty shot, right?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was.
I typed in the Discord. I said, "Is this an ecchi anime or something?"
And
Before you guys could answer, there was another scene. I was like, "Yeah, I think I just answered it for myself."
that's but I love
Is
the
the
scene.
Fuji stuff, is that fan service or is that just like pervert shit, or do they call
I
it?
can't tell. It might be
I
a
don't
little
know.
fan servicey. I would say no, and it's just weird. Like it's
Yeah.
I don't think it's fan service. I think it's bizarre,
I did laugh, but I
sort
also
of
cringed.
problematic.
Okay, so I just want to point out, like, my take on the sexuality shit. Like, it. So the topic of sex was really dealt with. Like, it had, in my opinion, a really like pre 2010 view. Like, it wasn't like pre 2020 view in the US. Like, because there's been a lot more like sexual. Hey, this is what a dick looks like. This is what a pussy looks like. This is how it works. This is how this like it. There's been a lot more sexual education in the past few years. So like with that, it kind of felt like that because even though Japan has a lot more like has can even though they may have like different social and cultural like advancements in their society, the topic of sex really isn't really tackled that much
That's how they tackle it.
in Japanese society. So like it kind of makes sense that like it's like how Aragi is reacting to the most part. Now, I will say this because I agree with all of you when you say, "Fuck Nadako, please take her out of the show." Like,
Yes.
it's like I personally fucking hate her as a character. I fucking hate her as a character. I fucking hate her as a girl. Like as one of the best girl contenders, she's not best girl in
She's
any
worst
way,
girl.
shape, or form. Like there is one wrong answer here, and we all know what it is. Like even even Hachikuji, even Hachikuji is a better best girl than Nadeko.
Let's not go
All right,
too far.
Well,
Yeah.
duh.
Well, so now actually,
Okay.
I'm gonna jump in actually
That's
because
waifu. Okay, chill
we
out.
because we are actually kind of running already long. I can mentally, in my mental clock in my head going off, I'm saying how long we're going already. So I'm gonna move us along in our conversation to we have two things left. We've got closing thoughts, and then I think we also have I guess favorite girl or best girl and worst girl, and then also I guess best arc and worst arc. We can throw those all together, I think, because you can say
Well,
And OP. Let's just like
and OP.
list
Your
those
OP.
things.
We'll throw all three of those things together. You don't have to say your worst OP or your worst arc. I think best arc is good enough, but you can say your best girl, worst girl. Again, I don't want to be a jerk about cutting anyone off, but we're definitely we're already like an hour and 15 at least into this.
Yeah,
It
about an
feels
hour
We're like
15.
an hour and 30.
yeah, which we don't want to be going too long. Like too long over time, because I know Best Girl is something that's such a focus of the show and something that we can definitely debate about for probably a solid 20 minutes alone. So,
And we should just open with Best Girl and then go from there.
oh no, we
I wanted
can't.
to
That's
talk
part of the
about
plot.
like action. So like I don't know. Like I mean, best girl conversations are fun, but like I feel like the show has a lot of substance to it, which is why I put it last.
If you
Yeah.
like for me, if my best girl would be Senjo Gahara, and that would instantly relate to like our arcs and what I like,
Yeah.
and then also it would be about like all the things we talked about are the reasons why I like who I.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is Senjo is your best girl. What
Yeah,
about
she was my waifu. If I would say best girl is Hachikuji, she's fun to watch, but
mhm.
Senjo Gahara is definitely the greatest waifu in the story, in my opinion. Like she's gonna be there for you. She
Okay.
might break your balls while she's there for you, but she'll be there.
All right, so who's the worst girl then?
I mean, I guess if you had to pick one, it's what's the Sengoku, the snake one. And
Yeah.
then if OP, I'm picking the Hachikuji OP. I don't know the name of it, but
The
that
second.
techno beat for
Amici.
dancing around is hilarious.
Okay, so there you go. That's so that's the that's Tyler's best worst whatever. Let's move on now. We're gonna go next to Hastic. I'm picking a random order for this, so just go with it.
So, best girl, probably Senju. Um, no, I'll take that back. Best girl is Kambaru, in my opinion. She's just like super funny, and I think like she's the one character where all of her jokes hit, and I don't
Yep.
think they were too reliant on like knowing Japanese language, or I had to like sort of like piece shit together. It was just dumb comedy that I enjoyed. Um, best waifu Senju Gahara. I mean, it's just like she had the most development. I can't say the same about the others. And worst girl, I'm gonna have to say Hachikuji because at the very
Wow. That's like saying Dorothy was worst girl and Princess Principal.
Oh,
Like, come
I
on,
would not
bro.
go that far. That's not that.
damn.
Hachikuji is adorable.
Like I want her to be my.
Like,
the reason I put Hachikuji as worst girl is because as much as people like we don't like Sengoku, and I also brought this up in like when I was talking about your name with someone with Lynn, is like a character that isn't useful or like just doesn't seem that important is fine. I don't care. But when you spend a lot of time with that character, that annoys me. And I feel like Hachikuji, like her arc was super long, and then she pops up again in episode 13, and it's like, why the fuck are you here? Like, why?
For Araragi though, like her arc, I know it was her name, but it was more about Araragi in
And
my opinion.
that's
She was
what
the
I'm
one
saying. Like,
experiencing that.
it's
She's like the Botan of the series. She gonna be around forever as the spirit.
The Botan. That's a great analogy.
but like yeah, I
Or
just didn't,
comparison.
especially because the arc was about Araragi. Like, it's just like, why are you still here? Why are you talking? Shut up.
Okay, that's fair. OP and
more thing.
favorite arc.
Girls, the both of the sisters, who I have no clue what their name was, but I
Karen and
stayed to
something
that
else.
every episode to hope that they were gonna do something again because they were hilarious.
You get them as the series goes on because
One of them
I'll
has really
say-
clean teeth.
I
I
I'll
heard.
say
wanted
when it's my turn.
Their
clean teeth.
arc.
Yeah, so let's go, Pete. It's up to
No,
you're up
Has
next.
has to give his
Oh,
best
wait,
OP.
yeah, that's what I was saying. Sorry, Pete. Yeah, not
Oh.
Pete. Has.
As a
Yes,
best
please
OP?
continue. Best OP and best what's it called? Best arc or your favorite arc.
Best OP was OP5 with Hanakawa and the cat. Thought it
Sure,
was
Sweet Nightmare.
great. Yeah, Sweet Nightmare. It was great. Like having her projecting on like these real life images of places. Like it was really cool, and like the cat. Best arc. Probably. Uh, what I Senju arc, but not like just her arc, like the whole romance arc between her and Hitagi, like that was cool. Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Let's move on to Pete. Let's get your best girl, worst girl, so on.
Sure. Worst girl by far, Sengoku. It's not even
Yeah.
close. Best girl is Hachikuchi. So I'm gonna mimic Tyler a lot. I also think the second best, or the best OP was number 2. I do want to say Senju Ohara and Hanakawa are S tier waifus, especially as the show goes on. You see why, because Hanakawa, her focus is on the cat essentially, but you don't see a lot of her. You see a lot more as the other series goes on, and they are both S tier. But if I had to pick one, it's Hanakawa because she wears glasses, and that's my thing. And then
Hey, half my glasses are drawn.
doesn't matter. She has glasses. Also, Karen down the road is the best character in the series. I fucking love Karen.
She is fucking
so
badass.
good. And if you continue watching it, you'll see why Karen kicks ass. That's the older of the twin sisters.
Okay, then I'm.
And my favorite arc is it's kind of, I'm gonna compare it to Bunny Girl Senpai since we kind of did it. Why like the first arc of Bunny Girl Senpai was the best. It just sets the tone of the show, and I think the first arc of this show really set the tone. It gets you hooked immediately. Like I don't know anybody who doesn't like the first arc really, and I think it just set the tone of the show, and I think it was great. So yeah,
Pat doesn't like it.
maybe Pat, but Pat, like we've heard
I-
earlier in the.
I've got one guy
said
for
cat.
every show that doesn't like it.
No, I liked it by the end of it, but it took a long time for it to get there for me. I don't know.
Okay.
It just
Okay.
took forever for me to get to it or like to get through it. But then once I got through it, I was like, okay, that was enjoyable. And I guess we'll go to Kat next. Let's get your best girls and so on.
Oh shit. Okay. So let's start with I'm gonna
Best
start
girl.
with OPs first.
Oh, OP. Okay.
Yeah. So my favorite OP was Renai Circulation. The one arc that I fucking hated. Yes, I fucking hated the arc, but
Mhm.
I have to say that after I watched it the first time I watched it, the other group, after I watched it, this was like, Overwatch was still like huge. Not to say that it isn't huge now, but like
It
it
isn't.
was
So you can say
bigger.
that. No, it's
Literally.
not.
But
So
like,
you can say that.
but like at that point, there was kind of like a fucking meme that came around where it was the Renat Circulation OP with sound bites and the heads of different Overwatch characters, and that fucking killed me. So every time I watched the OP of that episode, I was like, I'm fucking dying.
Mhm.
Like, so that was really the reason why that's my favorite OP. Really just a personal reason. If it wasn't, I'd probably say Staple. Mostly because I thought it went with the ending, which, can we just say that the ending is fucking amazing?
It's really good.
And we
Really
didn't
good.
talk about
The ED is fantastic. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
Okay, so now moving on to Best Girl. Best Girl is fucking Hanakawa, with Senjo Gahara being close second, and then Kanbaru being very close third. Good enough?
Yeah.
Who's the
Okay.
worst?
Now, well, actually, waifu being Hanekawa, best girl being either Kanbaru or Hachikuji, both of them being like really, really close. Worst girl, we all know who the fuck it is.
We know it's
It's fucking. I fucking hate her so goddamn much. And I say it in the church.
Say her name. Say her name.
Heisenberg.
Fucking Karen. No,
No,
not
whoa,
Karen.
whoa.
Her name's Rachel.
No, not Karen. I was thinking.
Rachel.
I was thinking Karen as in the current like
Oh, gotcha.
old white woman, not the good Karen with the egg, not one of the egg sisters. But like, yeah, Sengoku, fuck you,
Nice.
fuck you.
Nice,
I know you're not a
nice.
real person, but fuck you. Go to hell. But yeah,
All right. Next up, let's Miles. Let's hear your
Yeah,
quick.
I'll be quick on this. I have some definitive answers here. Best girl is Hanakawa. Best waifu is Senjo Kahara, and you could flip either of those depending how I wake up in the morning. The best OP is Sugar Sweet Nightmare. The worst OP is Renai Circulation Fight Me.
oh fuck you.
And is
Wow.
Toothspa Cat.
Wow.
I quite a lot.
Just to spite me.
Those are fighting words, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm about it though.
No.
Oh, let's go, bro.
I love
Are
it.
you coming to New York too? Because
Anime New
there's
York
gonna be, like,
City,
4
let's
different
go.
fights going on. I'm gonna have to fight Haz about something by then, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hey,
Let's hear your opinions.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. I'd say best girl again. I have not. Unfortunately, I have not finished the series yet, so I can't say definitively, but I'm pretty goddamn sure that I'm gonna go with Senjo because one thing to touch on really quickly about her that we didn't really get to in the series, like I think she is probably the most popular waifu out of the show. Like even though Hanakawa is very popular too, like Senjo is like the famous one. So like just an example,
Yeah, probably.
It's Giga, right? It's her favorite, his favorite waifu. There's so many people that she is like the defining person, right? And I feel like one thing that's makes her such a great waifu, and that's what's really fun about her. And it's the same way with Mai Sakurajima, from Bunny Girl Senpai. To tie that back again, it's they're so unrealistic in terms of like how great they are. Like their dialogue is very witty and stuff that like a real person wouldn't really be able to come up with right on the spot like that. Without thinking about it at least. Like again, it's very witty and fun dialogue to listen to as a story, but it's not realistic, which again though doesn't make them a bad waifu. It makes them better in my opinion. And I think it's the same way with how forgiving she is, and what her just her personality is not very real, but that's also again like I said is what makes her such a great waifu. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why I really liked her a lot. I think she's best girl. I think worst girl, like we talked about, Sengoku. That arc, it was the one that I was like trying to rush through too while I was sitting there watching at 1.5 speed, and I was just like, God, I almost want to skip these 2 episodes and just move
Figure
on.
out how
But
to do the
like,
1.5 speed.
yeah, I did. I figured I found a different site. I mean, I used Crunchyroll and then sped through time and totally did
There
not
you
use
go.
pirated site. Yeah,
Miss you with that copyright.
yeah, no, of course not.
We would
I
never
watched it
pirate any.
completely legally. Yeah, no, I watched it completely legally. I don't know what you're talking about. But I was so tempted to just skip that arc. I hated it. I was so bored and I was so just like frustrated and like, what the fuck's going on? Why is
You would
this?
have put it in the chat if I should skip it. I'm pretty sure, like unanimously, everybody would have
I
said
think
yes.
so.
Yeah,
Like, we just
yeah.
said skip
Make 'em
the last
watch it.
5 minutes of the last episode
Mhm.
and go.
Right. But so then from there, best OP again. I liked that opening though the most. I think it's the most catchy and most fun to listen to. It's the one that I can actually listen to, or that I listened to before the show, and now I will continue to listen to after watching the show. Like just because it's catchy and it's fun. And then best arc. Like I said, I didn't like Senjo's arc the most, even though she's my favorite. I guess I actually really liked the monkey girl arc a lot. I thought that was very interesting how they the only thing I didn't like about it was how at the end she still ended up having an arm problem
Yeah,
or something. I
super
didn't
weird.
really understand.
Tough
I didn't
point.
really understand how she still had it even if she exercised the demon or whatever. I didn't. I guess it was the whole point was like because of her actions, it's permanent or it's a permanent problem now. But
Well, it's like symbolic, right? So like
No, she's
the
20.
demon is about like envy and like distaste for people who have, a
have what you want.
have
Yeah.
what you want, right? So like she gets what she wants, but like I think that like much with any issue there that you like overcome, there are echoes of that, right? So like she
Hmm.
talks about how it will be better, right? So like she's overcoming her issues, she's working on them, um, but it takes time
Yeah.
to
But
do,
but
and that's
I
how
get.
I interpreted that.
Yeah, I don't know, but I still that bothers me because it's like what? So now she's got to wear a bandage the rest of her fucking again. Sorry,
Until
but
she's
she's got to live
20.
until
oh,
she's
she's
yeah. Like how long does she have to live with a bandage on her arm? That's pretty messed up.
20.
Full
They said
4 years.
Oh,
Oh, it
I
she's
actually
think
said that.
Yeah, they say until she's about 20. It's when May says like, yeah, you'll
Yeah.
be healed by you're 20.
Oh,
Can't
really? I
even
didn't know
say it,
that.
but
I
his
didn't
name
even
is
see it.
literally Team Hoshino,
his name
isn't
is Meme, yeah. But I think
Yeah.
they say Meme.
So is he a meme or is he actually a
Well, I
person?
mean, I
He's
think
kind of a meme.
his name was kind of around though before meme was really used, right?
He's the
2009. I mean,
original
Also,
kind
he's
of.
the
meme.
original
Just a
meme.
real name, right?
Yeah, it
Man.
is a real name too. Yeah, obviously because it's Meme. It's not meme. They say Meme. But anyway, so yeah, there's that, and then yeah, that was my best arc. So I guess that's all I've got again for. I guess we're gonna move on to our closing thoughts now before we then reveal as well what show we're watching for the next 2 weeks. But I'll start with closing thoughts and scores as well because I've got to do my score collecting and get everything ready with that. But I this show was something that again I'm glad I finally watched it and that I think is important to watch as an anime fan, and I'm sure I will go back after this. I'm gonna probably finish it tonight because I want to finish it now that you guys say how great the final episodes are, but at the same time I don't because all I've ever heard was how great this show was and how frustrating it was for me to watch, not because it was terrible. Again, it was a decent show. The dialogue was fun, but I think my expectations for it were just too high. So I think that's why I struggle to give this show anything higher than a 7, and I think that's where I'm going to stick it. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 on the rating scale. So again, it was good, and there were a lot of parts that I really enjoyed, but it took so much out of me to watch. Like and again, a really out of pocket comparison would be Neon Genesis Evangelion. Like took me forever to watch because like it's so taxing and
It
like
is a
but
taxing. Yeah, I
but
know. It's great.
but critically looking back at it, I can say, wow, this is an incredible show. Like, or it was really, I can see why it had the impact that it did, and that's why I still, gave it a decent score, even if I didn't. It's weird. Like, I did enjoy watching it, but I didn't love it. Like I wasn't sitting there like drooling for the next episode, like might be with a show like. I don't know, again, just because it's fresh in my head, My Girl Senpai, where I'm like going back every week and watching it like simulcast. Like, I think it was just the show was a bit overhyped for me, so I think that really ruined the experience for me. So I think that's my final thought. I'm a 7 out of 10. So I'm gonna throw that down in my notes. Let's move on. Who wants to go next?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, Kat, go for it.
All right, so before I give my final thoughts, well, no, not before I give my final thoughts. That's later. So
Nope, that's literally right now.
That's literally right
yeah,
now. It's final
shit,
thoughts.
fuck. So I was talking about something else. Speaking out loud because I don't have my ADHD medicine. So, fuck. Uh, so my final thoughts were honestly after watching it the second time, I honestly have a lot of the same ideas as you, Pat, when it comes to the show. Although I feel like the way that you described it, I enjoyed it more. Uh, that is to say that I've already seen the whole series, and for me, there's better parts of the series for me. Like
Mhm.
I would rather watch other parts of the series rather than just the first part because the first part is just kind of like I would rather take acid. Like it's
I mean, I would too, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, but like for reference, I dislike most drugs.
Mhm.
I only
I
take
do not.
Adderall because
Yo, strong take.
yeah, the fucking drug vegan. Man, fuck.
Anyways,
What the fuck I'm saying?
anyways,
What's your score, man?
Yeah, say your score.
what's your score?
mine would be an 8 out of 10.
Okay, fantastic.
8 out of 10. All right. Let's move on. Hastic, let's get your thoughts real quick. Final thoughts and score.
Final thoughts. I think talking has changed certain opinions on things. The snail arc probably isn't as bad as I originally, but first time watching it, it still was like a chore, and I feel like that was basically how I felt with a lot of this show. Uh, One of those things where, like you were saying, like it's probably not for me, but on like a critical level, like I can see the appeal of it. Um, Especially in the 15 episode run, which is why I have two different ratings. Um, for the first, like, for what was available to me, um, I like when I first watched it, I gave it a 5, which was the initial 12 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Cause if you're watching this on Crunchyroll, it's probably like an average, maybe dog shit experience. Right? Uh, Arcs don't get finished. It's very confusing to the first time through. But full 15 episodes, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I think the fact that the relationship um, was sort of the problems of the relationship were kind of intertwined with the arcs, and like it all felt like it kind of came together really cohesively. Maybe not necessarily Hanakawa's arc. I'd have to go through again. Uh, just pacing issues was a real problem for me. A lot of like the climax of the relationship at episode 12. Um, I think the initial editing was kind of all over the place in episode 4. But yeah, no, it was otherwise it was really good. I probably would never go back and rewatch it though.
I understand that sentiment completely. All right, perfect. So, Pete, let's get your thoughts. Let's get your score and final thoughts.
Sure, yeah. Other than the Sengoku arc, I thought the majority of the story was really good. I did think that, I mean, I really do like the dialogue in the show. I do think at some parts that it was way too long, especially episode 4. I thought it was really exaggerated, and I think it could have been cut out. And how they were working with their art, I think they could have done some really cool stuff with that episode. And then instead, it was just like a dialogue episode, which was okay. Like it was just really long. The fans, some of the fan service is questionable, but for the most part, it was fine. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I have more problems with the sequels, but I thought Bakemonogatari was a pretty solid show. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
An 8, you said? Okay.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Beautiful. All right, Tyler, let's go. Let's have you go next.
I loved the show. When I finished it, I rated each arc like individually, and I think the first and the last arc I gave a 10, and then the Sengoku I gave like a 7. So I guess that would make my rating make it a 9. I think it's probably closer to a 10 if I keep watching the series and like the next arcs and whatnot. Maybe it'll go up, or I guess if I'm like Cat, maybe it'll go down. Maybe it's the lower part of the series. So I'd say I give it a 9. All the characters were just so good in it. So.
A 9. Okay, there we go. That's a high, the highest score yet. There we go. All right, Miles, it's your turn.
Yeah. So oh god. Yeah, similar thoughts to Tyler. I think everything to me, besides the Sengoku arc, is like a 9 or a 10. Episode 12 specifically is like unironically like a 11 out of 10 for me, as far as episodes of anime go. I think the show does like a really interesting and unique way of like looking at like personal trauma, and it addresses it in sort of like a very nuanced way with lots of depth and stuff there. I think it does have its issues, and I think those issues are most highlighted in the Sengoku arc. If the Sengoku arc didn't exist, I would probably snap 10 out of 10 this, but it does, so I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
A 9. Okay, so that I believe that was everybody.
Change ours to 10s to raise this rating of the group.
Well, you don't need to raise it because it's already we total score. We had a 49,
Probably
which
like a
out
7 or
out
an
of
8.
out of 6 people. No, I think it's much higher. I think, yeah, it's an 8.16 out of
Oh, that's
out of 10 for us. So let me throw that on our list
just
as
under the Mao too, because I think the Mao's 8.3 or something.
the Mal
Yeah.
rating
No,
is
it's
an
8.67,
yeah,
I think.
no, it's no,
No.
nope, 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 nope. You're wrong. Fake news.
8.36.
Yes, 8.36 is the correct score from Mal, at least. So for us, we're right about there, especially considering, again, we're only averaging 6
Oh.
numbers, so you can only get a certain amount of different, scores, so to speak. So I think 8.16 accurately represents about where we are, too, because we have some people who didn't like it as much, like me, but still enjoyed it and could see how critically it was good. And then you have the people who really liked it, like Tyler and Miles, who really just, like, enjoyed the hell out of the show to the point of it being so high on the.
What about
I think I could rewatch the show 4 times and take something different out of it every time.
I think I could
think so,
too, but I
too.
don't want to. I don't think I want
I'm the same
to.
way.
So there
I
we
don't
go.
want to rewatch it, but if I went back and rewatched it, there would be things I missed. So it's like,
Oh yeah.
Did your rate go down after watching it a second time, or stay the same, or?
It would
It
go
roughly the
down.
same.
It would definitely go down. because like the thing is, it's all about your first time experience.
Yeah,
For
but
me,
I like
Yeah.
because
like
like
the
the
slash
second
not
time experience was horrible for me. Like,
And I feel like as this goes on, as you go further into the Monogatari series, like just from the way this was formatted, it felt like required watching more than trying to be a show in of itself.
I can
exactly.
see that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with
Yeah.
that point. But all right, I think that'll wrap us up on Bakemonogatari. So thank you, Miles, for suggesting that show. That's 2 weeks in a row now. I think that we've watched a show you suggested, and I think we're enjoying that.
I want
Just
to
as much
point
as
out
last
something
time.
real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay, so like during the past two shows, I voted for I voted for the I've had 3 points for the winning show
Mm-hmm.
twice. This time I voted for Tadakun Never Falls in Love.
Uh-huh.
If I fucking win this, somebody's getting me a fucking soda.
Oh, yeah, I would buy
soda.
you. Well, hey, man, I'd buy you a car if Tadakun won. But let's let Miles
it
reveal
did
the
Yeah.
winner.
Okay. So we're gonna do this thing where we announce the top three. We had two shows that like the show that came in second this week would have won every other week. So it had the most votes ever besides the show that came in first.
Mhm.
At third, we have Laid Back Camp. So Laid Back Camp gets a legacy point, and so going forward, it'll have a slight edge. Um, uh, Second place, we had Grimgar, Fantasy and Ash,
Oh.
with 12 points, which is like a significant amount.
It's a lot. I mean, we are getting more people voting. However, when Miles and I were tallying the votes, it was this show and then the show that eventually won
Yes.
that were miles ahead of all the other shows. So without further ado, Miles, go ahead.
Yes, and the show that wins is with 15 points. Ping Pong the Animation
Yeah,
once
let's
again.
go.
And
Let's
For the-
go.
I want to point this out. I want to point this out real quick. So in the first for the anime that I chose for 1 point was Yuru Camp. So this anime I chose for 2 points was Grimgar. So I'm
You were
just putting
close.
that out there.
You're getting close. Yeah, no. So for the third week in a row, we'll be watching Miles' suggestion.
I'm cool with
God
that. I
damn
want
it.
to see
I'm
ping
but
pong so
I
bad.
That's the thing. I haven't seen ping pong yet. Again, I think the reason why Miles's choices work so well are there are shows that everyone either wants to see or feels like they are obligated to see as an anime fan. All I've ever heard, as an anime fan, is that ping pong is like the best sports anime or it's one of the best anime ever, and like it feels almost like a snobby choice or a show to watch.
It's Science
Well,
Saru. It's like one of my favorite studios, so
yeah. So
I can't wait.
I cannot wait to watch it myself either. I know it's not going to take me 2 weeks to not even finish the
It's
show.
only
I'm going.
11 episodes, not 15.
It's 11 episodes exactly, but even then, that's not why I didn't finish Bakemonogatari. Well, I guess it is at the end of the day, but again, I only started like yesterday because I just couldn't get myself to do it. Again, I was so. Again, maybe it's just that expectation, the weight of knowing what I wanted held me back. But
You're
versus
the
with this show,
crab, dude. You're the crab of the podcast. You got that
yeah,
weight.
really. Yeah, I'm gonna carry that weight.
Yeah, you're gonna have to carry that weight. You
I'm
crab.
gonna have to carry that weight. Yep. All right. Thank you for the Cowboy Bebop reference. That was a perfect setup and a way for us to keep ourselves moving here. But yeah, so now we can keep going. We know what show we got. We got the shows with the legacy points. Like Tadakun still has the legacy points. There's and a couple of the other ones off the top of my head that I can't think of. But now we can go into our nominations for next week. So obviously, or the week after. So we have ping pong as our choice for week 4 or session 4 of Anime Club. However, we need to reveal what we're voting on for week 5 so that we have the show ready at the end of week 4 or session 4. So, without further ado, let's go through. Let's start with the person who wins no matter what, anyways, and is really coincidental. It's coincidental because he's the one who tallies the votes. So I think he might be doing some good Photoshop
time to
work.
think of a good show. That's
Yeah.
what's happening.
Doing some good Photoshop if it's what I'm doing.
Yeah, he's doing some fantastic
I gotta think of
Photoshop
a real
that
good one.
Yes. Well, we've got Miles. Let's hear your nomination for this
So
week.
I'm going to throw this week intentionally because I'm actually getting self-conscious about how often this is happening. So I'm going to pick a show that two other people have historically picked and has never even come close. So I'm going to pick Puella Magi and Madoka Magica. And I love the show, so if I have to go down, I might as well go down standing that show.
So
Who
Madoka
chose
Magica.
Madoka Magica?
Yep, that's he's
God
gonna
damn
pick
it.
that. He's picking that as his nomination. All right, Kat, let's hear your nomination for this week.
Fuck. I'm guessing I'm gonna go with the second no Kuni for the second week in a row.
I think that's a smart choice.
Hoseki no Kuni. Okay, so that's the God, I can't remember the English
Land of
translation.
the Lustrous.
Land of the Lustrous. Thank you. That's yes, that show. That's a wild one from what I've heard. All right, let's move on. Hastic. I
Fucking
can't
amazing.
remember. Were you on last week? I don't think you were. So I believe this would be your first nomination. So please, I don't know if we told you this coming in, but
No, you
as
didn't.
being so
Well,
being a member of the past week though, because that's how this works. If you come on and talk, you get to nominate your own show. You get to nominate a show for next week. So please, find it. Come on, you got a little bit of time. If you need more time, we can move on to someone else. But
Okay, I think I know
you
what
got it.
I'll nominate.
All right, let's
Yeah.
hear it.
The World God Only Knows.
That's a great show.
Okay, that's on the
only
list.
knows.
There's only two harems on Mal that have a score of 8 or higher. It's Ouran High School Host Club and The World Only God Knows.
Okay, wow.
The
So
World Only
that's
God Only Knows season 1 doesn't.
Bakemonogatari is not a harem.
It's technically considered not
technically
a harem.
not. It's not a harem
not
technically. Yep.
Character.
He gets a
Because-
girlfriend
Does
and
not have the harem tag.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Okay, so that's The World of God Only Knows. That's our next nomination. Let's move on now. Pete, what have you got for us this week?
So I wanted to pick a show that could only be done in anime. And everybody, I should say everybody, a lot of people like sports, and a lot of people like high school sports. But what's a high school sport that can only be done in anime?
Kaijo.
Girls in
Kaijo.
Tanks. So I'm nominating Girl und Panzer.
Oh,
my
Girls
God.
in Panzer. Oh my God. Okay, so that's a high
I
school show.
thought you were
I didn't
gonna
realize
choose
that.
It's a
Kaijo, and I
high
was
school
going to
tank
punch
show.
you.
Can I give Girls in Panzer negative 20 points somehow?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
I guess you could Photoshop
No.
it.
Well, yeah, I guess he could. Yeah, I was gonna say, Pete, Miles. If anything, you are the only person that could give it negative 20.
If anyone wants to write in their top three, like I want to like scrap my number 3 choice to give Girls in Panzer negative 1 point, feel free to. Okay.
Yeah, I
I've
think
never
that
seen it.
that's
I
fair.
want to see it.
Can we sabotage shows?
No,
This
no,
is
no.
Is that a rule now?
Pete, that you have had a show come and get legacy points and then you switch immediately.
I
Yeah,
think
that's-
Girls und Panzer would be a very funny discussion.
Okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Let's move on. All right, Tyler, what have you got for your nomination? We're gonna
I'm
have a very
pushing
short list this week. We're only gonna
I'm-
have.
Oh, it's going to be interesting.
I'm gonna
We're-
watch No Game No Life by myself because y'all ain't never gonna choose it. So
No, hell no. Fuck you.
I
Second
just
one.
logged on my Mal, and the first 12 episode show on there is Dead Man Wonderland. So I'm gonna go with
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Okay, that's a show
Don't
I
know
need
what
to
it's
watch.
about. Never seen it. Don't know what the main character's name is, but it's 12 episodes. So
All right, there we go. All right, and
No.
I believe since Smiley couldn't make it with us tonight, but because he's been a good host and he's a good friend of ours as well, I think we're gonna keep his show on the
Yeah, we're going to
nomination
keep
list as
Grimgar
well.
going on.
We're gonna keep Grimgar as
Well,
well,
it's number
considering
one on
how
that.
well
That's
it
what
did.
I should have just
Grimgar
picked
finished second. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, but we definitely we're fine with having 7 nominations. Like,
yeah. This is better this way. I'm just happy.
Mhm.
I should have went
Wait.
back and looked at the previous ones.
Yeah, so
Can I-
Grimgar is going to be on the show on the list as a show. Sorry, go ahead, Kat. What's up, bud?
Can I, in the 8th spot, can I put in Nambaka?
No.
No,
You
no,
cannot.
no, you cannot. Nope, because you are here and you chose your show. All right, I'll wrap us up and I'll go with
Tadakun,
yeah,
never...
yeah, he's already putting it down. He knows Tadakun never falls in love. God damn it, this show has been it's won the most legacy points, which means it's had technically the most points voted for it ever. It was in 4th place this week. You know, it's this is its week. This is the week. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm gonna make a hot take right here. This is a weak fucking list. This is a weak list, and I think Tadakun is gonna sweep right through and finally.
Did you
get his
just
chance.
say that Hatseki no Kuni is part of a weak list?
I'm being
did.
I will
facetious.
fight you, bro.
I'm being intentionally confrontational right before we're not all allowed to talk anymore because we're about to finish. So keep that in mind. But I have a good feeling about this week. I'm hoping that, especially with the legacy points, it can push its way through finally, and we can talk about something other than one of Miles' shows because. God damn it! I've been wanting to talk about this show forever.
Look, I'm throwing. Okay, people do
Yeah,
not.
I know you are.
Okay, so
Well, that's the thing. I do and I don't. Like, I've never seen a magical
Not
girl
gonna
show.
lie, I
So
voted
stop.
for that one
You've
every
seen
time.
Madoka Magica?
No, I've never
It's
seen
a
any
fucking
magical girl show.
masterpiece.
It's really good.
I need to see a Magic Girl show, so I'm gonna vote for that one.
Okay,
Madoka
well,
Magica
you know
is
what?
impressive.
Fuck me. Everyone vote for Madoka Magica. If you're
Don't do
reading this in the
that.
comments and you want to hear my takes on why Sayaka Miki is the best anime character of all time, fucking
Wow.
vote for Madoka Magica.
I was just say,
Did
well,
you
yeah,
say-
we forgot to
Please
mention,
vote
yeah,
for
please,
Hatseki no Kuni, because
people in the
like
comments are. You're welcome to vote in the comments. You're also welcome to join us to discuss shows that we've talked about. Now this is the end of our 3rd episode. We've talked about Main and Abyss and Princess Principal beforehand, and we just talked about Bakemonogatari. Please come talk to us and join our anime club, so to speak, that we have going on in this Discord. The link's in the description. Don't feel pressured into thinking we're snobs. We're not. I mean, as we know, Miles, his favorite character is someone from a magical girl show, so he's clearly not seen a lot. Cat,
oh
Cat's
shit.
I mean, Cat is just Cat.
I'm a hentai reviewer. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Pete, Pete's an old guy who likes anime and just
Damn, you got me
has
there.
seen everything. And I don't even know what else to say about myself because I'm just some jerk who thinks he's
Nice
critically
webcam,
smart.
bro.
Yeah, thanks. I know. Yeah. I'm just some jerk who thinks he's good at writing and critiquing things because he was a history major in college. So you know what? There's lots of different things that we that we do, but at the end of the day, we're all just friends hanging out, talking about shows and looking at shows that we otherwise might not have watched on our own.
I just
So
want to note that Madoka is 0.9 ahead of Tadakun on Mal.
it's only 0.9. Wow, that's and we all know Mal scores mean everything.
Mouse
Because-
scores mean
I'm glad that we've established that Mal scores are in fact true.
Bullshit.
Yeah, they're really
You're
good.
the one.
If you understand
yeah.
statistics, it's a very good system.
Yeah.
High School DxD isn't a harem, guys. Just saying. According to Mal.
Oh god, some of the
High
random
School
reviews
DxD is on Disney
are
XD.
a thing.
So
What?
All right,
yeah,
we're getting off topic.
it's legit on
I'm cutting this off.
DxD.
I'm cutting this off. Yes, it is on DX. Yep. That
Oh,
I don't.
shit. I got
I don't
water
know
on my
if you
stomach.
want to learn more about why High School DxD is on Disney XD.
Disney
then look it
XD.
up. It's very simple. Look it up. Crunchyroll wrote an article about it. I think. There we go. We're cutting this off. Pete, why don't you close us out because this is your platform.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. If you can, follow us on social media. The links will be in the description below. Join our Discord. We have a lot of fun just talking about some random shit from anime, the manga, the games, to current events, to whatever happening in the world and everything in between. So come join Discord. We're all really cool. But yeah, looking forward to ping pong, and then check out me and Adam's section of What Do You Say Anime later this week. And thank you for watching, and have a great night.